July is inching closer, so you know what that means. If you've been active in the online art community in the last couple of years, chances are you've heard about Artfight already. Even if you've participated before, there have been some pretty big changes this year, like the whole content filter system being replaced, which is a huge deal. This is gonna be my 4th year participating, so as an Ankh veteran, I will explain how Artfight works, give you some information on what to prepare, how to set up your characters, and what's been updated on the website since last year. Throw back to when I was on the front page of Google when you looked up Artfight last year, by the way. Why am I there? Because I'm making this video before July, there might be things that will be changed still, so I will try to keep you updated about those in the pinned comment and on my Discord. There's also timestamps so you can come back to specific sections when you need them. Alright, so what even is Artfight? Artfight is an annual online art event and website where you join a team and can draw other artists' characters to earn points for your team. So there's no actual fighting involved, just making art. I know, right? Disappointing. Artfight happens every year during the entire month of July, but don't be sad if you're watching this right after July because I also have some interesting infos for you later. Artfight originally started on an internet forum all the way back in 2007, but the event grew over the years. The Artfight website was first used in 2016 with just 7,000 users compared to an astronomical 600,000 users participating in 2025. So how does it work? Essentially, you can upload artworks and lore of your original characters or self-insert onto the website. Other artists can see your characters and make drawings of them, which is called an attack. But attacks can also be animations, 3D models, or other crafts like crochet. When you make an attack, the artwork gets points based on how much of the character is visible, how shaded it is, etc., and the points get added to your profile as well as your team's point pool. If the artist you attacked makes a drawing for you in return, it's called a revenge. You can also attack people in your team, which is called friendly fire, but only earns you 75% of the points you would normally get. This used to be only 20% and it was miserable, so I'm glad they changed that since last year. Once July is over, you can no longer submit new attacks and the team with the most points is declared the winner. Artfight calls itself an art trading game, but I think it's better to think of it as an art gifting game, because attacking someone doesn't mean you will be getting a revenge. Also, if you want to join, it's important to keep in mind that the point system is not the main point of the event. In the Artfight team's own words, while there are point scores, the real goal is to celebrate characters with your fellow artists. Artfight is about giving and receiving amazing art. The website is not super professional or ran by a big company. As far as I know, there's a lot of volunteer work involved in the website, so some things don't work like you'd expect them to. In the past, we have had issues with the website loading, especially during the week of the event starting, so I made a habit to prepare my profiles before July. Though Artfight has fixed a lot of the issue with their website crashing and taking ages to load, I would still recommend you start earlier rather than later. So how should you prepare for Artfight? How to set up your profile. To join Artfight, you do have to make an account on their website. Without an account, you won't be able to view other people's profiles or attacks. Once you signed up, you can edit your profile. I would recommend to add a profile description with some basic infos about your art, what you like drawing, and what characters people can find on your page. Recently, Artfight changed the code their editors use from BB code to HTML. Now, I'm not a coding kind of guy, so I can't tell you about the technicalities of this, but don't worry, all of your existing profile descriptions, character descriptions, etc. were preserved when they changed this. All that is different is the look of the text editor, and that you can now do more things with it if you know how to use HTML. There's some basic formatting options that are similar to most writing programs. You can add links with this button here, and if you write something in the description part, your link will look clean as hell. I like to add links to my socials as well as to other websites where people can find my character references and lore. Then I also link to my friends' profiles in case someone wants to draw my OCs with someone else's OC. This is especially helpful if you have a friend who you ship your OCs with. Some people were curious about how to make and add these profile cards or a banner like this to your profile. I like doing this because people can immediately see what my art and OCs look like without scrolling down. Artfight usually posts these profile templates once the teams are revealed. You can download them and then edit the images of your characters and text onto them. Then you need to upload them somewhere so you can grab the image link and paste it into your profile. I literally just made a hidden Artfight character for this. And do not forget to hit the submit button at the bottom once you're done, or your info will be lost to the void. There's also different tabs on your profile to view statistics, characters, attacks, and defenses, but the most important one is the character tab. Setting up your characters. This is where your global character permissions will show up, and you can edit them in your settings under the character permissions. Basically, you want to add anything important that applies to all or most of your characters here, but we will get into the permission part later. So besides showing the permissions, I use this page to share any important resources like an OC relationship board, high chart, or alternative universe designs, because this whole section will show up in every character profile unless you disable it for them. So it's great for showing info that applies to a lot of OCs, so you don't have to paste a high chart into every single character profile. And also this way, if you update the high chart, for example, you only have to update it once and not for every OC profile. The most important thing you need to set up on your profile is your characters, because without them, you won't be able to get any attacks. You can either click on the submit button at the top or go to the character page in the sidebar menu and submit or edit a character. At the top you can edit their name, but right below that is the character description, which is where we will put any important lore or information into. I usually structure my character descriptions like this. There's a short info section at the top so you can get a quick overview of the character. Then there's a longer section where I describe their personality, who they interact with, and what they like to do. I would suggest you guys don't dump all your lore into there, because in the end, Artfight isn't an OC lore website, but meant so people can understand your characters enough to draw them. The longest character profile I have is Facilia's, and that's not even that long. Then I have a section for drawing ideas, in case people have a hard time coming up with their own. I usually add stuff like which of my OCs they would interact with, if they would do flirty interactions, what hobbies they have, or just cool visuals I have in my head that I haven't drawn yet. I just copy and paste this description layout for my other OCs so their profiles all look similar and it's less confusing. Now, you really want to add a section for your character permissions unless you absolutely do not care in which scenarios your characters are drawn. Basically, the permissions are there to tell people what they are allowed to draw with your characters and what they aren't allowed to draw. If you set up global permissions, they will apply to all of your characters, while character permissions only apply to one character. So if you don't want people to draw gore with your OCs, you can set it as a global permission. But if you're okay with one character being drawn with gore, you can add that to the permissions on their character page. I simply make a do's and don'ts list that state if people can draw my OCs with gore, nudity, suggestive themes, or other people's OCs. If you feel like you want to give people the option to look at all of the lore and references you have for your OC, but you don't want to clutter your Artfight page, you can give people a link to your favorite OC or lore website that has all of the lore and references. And below that is the new feature they added. Previously, people would only be notified if you add a new character, but now you can make changes to your OC pages, check this box, and people will be notified there was a change. I would only recommend doing this for big changes though, like if you recently added a bunch of lore or multiple new artworks or changed the design, because otherwise people will get spammed with these notifications and eventually just ignore them, which makes them useless. You also need to check if your entire character profile needs a content filter, but more on content filters later. You can also add tags for people to find your characters easier, but they aren't necessary, and as far as I know, they don't help too much either. If you're wondering how many OCs you should put onto Artfight, set up the characters you want to be drawn. You don't need to put up all your OCs there. Especially if you have a ton of OCs, it's gonna take you ages, and it will also be super confusing for people trying to decide on who to draw. I would say if you really can't decide, put up a max of 10 OCs and mark the ones who you would like to see more art of with a star or something in front of their names. Okay, that's most of it done, but you still need to add images to the character profiles so people know what they look like. To add images, you want to edit your character profile and then click on images. This page looks confusing as hell, I know. The first box lets you decide which of the images opens up big when someone clicks on the character profile, regardless of which image is the first one in the order. The second box lets you decide which image will be shown as the preview in the character tab next to your other characters. Below that you can upload a new image, so you just put the image into main image. If you want a thumbnail for the image that is cropped in on the character's face, you can upload that into the thumbnail image. I would only recommend you do this for the artwork you want to be the actual thumbnail of the character though, since otherwise people will be confused when clicking through the images on the profile. Do keep in mind that Artfight is not safe from being scraped for AI training datasets, so I would recommend uploading glazed or night shaded versions of your art. If you don't know what that is or what they do, definitely check out this video where I explain it. You also need to select if you made the artwork and if it needs a content filter, which we will be talking about later. Below that, you can change the order in which the images show up on the profile. Note that Artfight only allows you to upload 6 images per character for free unless you pay to become a supporter plus. So how do you decide which images to use? I think it's generally a good idea to pick the artworks that most look like how you want your RC to look like and show their personality, aesthetic or vibe well. You could also show different outfits or AUs as well. But what if you want to make updated drawings for your characters or design a whole reference sheet? A character reference sheet, or ref sheet for short, is basically there to show off your character designs in a simple pose with no shading or very little shading, so other people have an easier time understanding and drawing them. However, they are not necessary for Artfight. If you have 1 or 2 drawings of your character that have pretty neutral lighting, that's already enough. But ref sheets are cool and helpful for more complex designs, so I get it if you want to make a ref sheet anyways. So if you need more advice on how to actually make character reference sheets or how to decide what to put on them, I already made a whole video about this, which I will link at the end. Before we get to the rules, I wanted to tell you guys that I recently opened channel memberships here on YouTube. If you join, you get a badge and emotes on this channel, as well as update posts, Discord roles, and early access to videos. I noticed that a lot of patrons said they mostly joined to support me and not really to get any benefits, so I thought this would be a great option right here on YouTube. But if you do want my HD art files, brush set, exclusive OC content you won't get anywhere else, end card heads, which you can buy once without a membership, and more, you can throw your money at me on Patreon instead. And if you are a new or free member, you can get 60% off your first month in my claws or teeth tiers with this discount code. Your support on YouTube and Patreon really helps me to keep making content that's free for everyone to watch, so thank you guys. Now, let's talk about the Artfight rules. As for any website or event, there are rules you need to follow. You should definitely read through the whole list yourself. I promise it's not long or complicated. I will only give you a quick summary here. The basic website rules are that you need to be 13 or older, you cannot have multiple accounts, discrimination is not allowed, content like artistic nudity, gore, suggestive themes, etc. are allowed, but need to have the appropriate filters applied. I will be explaining the content filters later. All artworks and characters need to be your own, or you need to have the permission to use them from the creator. All attacks must be original, and attacks must be made during the duration of the event. Using references is allowed, but tracing is not. The art or character designs you receive cannot be used for profit, and you also can't sell them. And lastly, don't be aggressive towards the other team. Again, this was just a quick summary. Please read the rules yourself if you want to participate. I will link them in the resources section of the description. Okay, I yapped about a lot of things in this video, but how do you actually submit an attack? Well, once the event begins, you can click on the submit button at the top and there will be an option to submit your attack. Once you click on it, it will open a new page. You're gonna have to name the attack, but the name isn't really important. I usually name it something dumb that's vaguely related to the drawing, just for fun. Make sure to not break any rules though, and be respectful if you don't know the person you're attacking. Then you can put in a description if you want to. I tend to write about my drawing process or why I like the person's OC. There's also a private description that only the person you attacked can see. Since I always upload glazed and or night shaded versions of my art, which tend to look a bit crunchy, I always write that they can contact me if they want the full HD files. And Artfight also has a limit on how big your files can be. Chances are if you're using bigger canvases, you can't upload the full HD version anyways. Below that, you can actually upload your artwork and a thumbnail. Note that you don't need to put in a thumbnail. I usually don't because it's confusing to me when the thumbnail is only part of the whole image and I'm trying to find it again. And then there's the content filter section. Next up, you need to add a recipient, aka the person you're attacking, and the characters that are in your attack. Make sure to spell the recipient's username correctly. As for the characters, you can copy-paste their IDs from their profiles into the field and then select how much of the character is visible. Artfight has this handy graphic on their page to determine what size you need to select. If you drew multiple characters, make sure to add all of them in because it will increase your point score. It also counts as a simple shaped character if you drew part of a character but not the face, like here. And if you attacked someone else's OC and included your own OC, make sure to add them. You will get more points for it. And if you're revenging an attack, you can click on Find Revengeable Attacks and select one. But only if the person you're attacking is the same one that attacked you, obviously. Once it's all done, it's time to rate your attack. Be sure to select these honestly and refer to the official guide images if you aren't sure how to rate your attack. I also talked about this in detail in my old Artfight video if that's easier for you to follow. Then you can select the polish option if you spent extra time and effort on it, or if you're particularly proud of the piece. And finally, you can submit your attack. Artfight will show you everything you selected for the attack and calculate your points. Once you did that, the recipient will get a notification about your attack and hopefully be very happy. Okay guys, I was just gonna send you off to the content filter section in my old video, but during editing, Artfight released a news post stating that they're planning to change the way content filters work. This would be a pretty big change, so you might want to know about this. First of all, what are content filters? Artfight actually allows artworks with artistic nudity, gore, and suggestive but not explicit imagery, among other topics, on their website. However, there are minors and other people who may not want to see gore or nudity or other sensitive topics, so users had to select a content filter when it applied to their characters or art. With the new system, this would be replaced with tags instead. This change isn't live at the time of recording, so it could be that some of these things will be different once it's implemented. I will be including the mockup screenshots that Artfight had in their news post though, so you can visualize it better. Here's the TLDR of what the change will be. A tagging system will replace the old filter system for characters and attacks. There's two kinds of tags. Mandatory tags for things like blood, gore, nudity, suggestive themes, eye strain, abuse, and a few other topics. These tags have to be used when they apply to a character, artwork, or attack so other people can easily avoid them. If you already have a character with the old content filters applied, they will automatically be converted into tags so you don't need to worry about updating those. And then there's general tags, which allows you to be more specific about the content in your character page. You can pick from the suggested courtesy tags or write in your own tags. People will then be able to hide, block, or censor tags they don't want to see. Along with this, users will be able to suggest a tag on your character profile, so if you see art that's missing a tag, you can suggest it to them. Artfight also stated that a new filtering guide will be released when this change happens, but until then you can look at my old Artfight video that talks about it in detail if you want to post characters or artworks with themes of gore, nudity, body horror, or other sensitive themes from the old list. General advice and questions. There's also some Artfight etiquette that everyone should know about, which is partially in the rules, but I want to highlight it because if you ignore these things, you could upset other people and ruin the fun for them, or for yourself. First of all, your skill level absolutely does not matter. But you should always try and put in effort and respect the character designs, and also respect people's character permissions, obviously. That's actually a rule, and if you willfully ignore character permissions, not only is that kind of a mean-spirited move, but it can also get you banned. That said, if you're not sure about if someone would be happy about your drawing idea, or their permissions are a little bit vague, you can always ask them. There are private messages on Artfight, and most people also link some of their socials in their profile. Alright, next up, nobody is obliged to attack you back. This is in the rules as well, so don't beg or harass anyone who isn't revenging your attack. Attack people because you like the character design and not because you want something in return. You will only disappoint yourself if that's your motivation. Especially if you attack popular artists. I got like 179 attacks last year and made 10 attacks myself. So the odds of getting a revenge from me is close to 0 unless I know you. But on the flip side, if you know you won't be able to revenge people or you don't want to do revenges, state it in your profile. That way you can avoid people attacking you for just the revenge. Last year my profile stated that I generally don't do revenges because I knew I would get a lot of attacks, but I think that transparency is important. If you really want art from someone but they don't attack or revenge you, check if they offer commissions. If you attack me, there's like a 1% chance you will get art back, but if you slide into my commissions, your chance increases by like 98%. And the 1% chance is me getting hit by a truck right after you paid your commission or something. I don't know. Mine might be open depending on when you're watching this, so check out my description to find out more. If you'd like to be notified about when or where they open, I have a commission tag role on my Discord. You literally don't have to use the server for anything else if you don't want to. Just grab the commission tag and you're good to go. Next up, when you get an attack from someone, leave a nice comment to thank them. Again, you don't have to revenge anyone if you don't want to, but I feel like leaving a comment is a simple way to show that person you still appreciate the work they put in. I spent a ton of time last year just responding to all of your attacks because I didn't just want to send a bunch of one-word replies, so you know I appreciate your effort. Do it at your own pace. You can join or leave Artfight anytime. You don't have to be there the whole month. You don't have to be there day one. You can join the last week if you want to. Usually I draw a lot for Artfight the first week or two and then slow down. Don't care too much about which team wins. It really doesn't matter. If you don't have friends that will attack you and also no social media following, I would recommend joining the Artfight Discord. They have a target hunting channel where people will look for OCs to draw. I will also have a channel like that in my Discord server. If you feel uncomfortable joining huge servers like the Artfight one, just keep in mind that you need to be 15 or older to join my Discord. What changed for Artfight 2026? Since Artfight 2025, there have been a few changes, and luckily for us, the Artfight team lets us view their progress list so you can check exactly what new features have been added as well as what they plan to do next. A lot of them are small quality of life improvements, which I won't talk about, so I will leave a link to this page below. Character connections. This was one of the coolest changes that I didn't even think about before they added it. When you edit your character profile, there's now a new tab to add connections to other characters. You can use this to show that your character is shipped with, related to, or friends with another character. This also works with other users' characters, but they will need to approve the connection so it shows up. If you are afraid to get spam requests from people you might not even know, you can turn this off. Once you added a connection, you can add a description or quotes for each character if you own both of them. So Facilia here can admire Aster, but he thinks she's annoying. I just kinda wish that you could color code these or give them a title so you can see at a glance what the relationship is like. Seasonal events outside of July. So the Artfight team already did host seasonal events on the Discord server, but one of their tier 3 donation goals is to add these seasonal events to their website. That means you could submit artworks for these events outside of July. I think this would be really cool and could even be used to do some art secret Santas if they have an event in December. But this feature will only be added if they reach this donation goal. Character update notifications. I already talked about this one in the character profile section, but when you update a character, you can now toggle this box to let people know you made a change. Notification filter. The notification tab has been split into more tabs, and when you click on the subscriptions tab, you can now filter out attacks or new characters/character changes. You can also switch to grid view. Feedback form and changes I want. If there's any changes you really want or need, there is a feedback form on the Artfight homepage, but depending on when you watch this, that might be gone or replaced by a new one. Personally, I would super appreciate if Artfight could automatically compress images that are too big, since the file size limit is quite low. I usually just screenshot the artwork to make it smaller, but that leads to a mess of files on my PC. So automatic compression would be appreciated. I would also love if they added the ability to add a note to the character notification to say what has been edited, so people can check out that specific change instead of rereading the whole lore only to realize I just added a new outfit design. Again, if there's any more big changes, I will try to update you guys in the pinned comment or on my Discord. If there's any questions I didn't answer in this video, feel free to ask in the comments and me or another viewer can try to help you. Here's a video about the attacks I made last year and another one about my OCs. You can also join my new YouTube memberships or join my Patreon to support me and get access to loads of benefits like these cool end card heads. Special thanks to my Patreons. Have an amazing art fight. Will out.